Welcome everyone to day 3 of our bootcamp. I'll quickly drop some instructions and I'll please implore that you do well to follow them. Now, by the end of this bootcamp, you are going to be issued a certificate of participation, right? So we're going to, as a company here at Logtech, we are going to issue you a certification of participation. Now, for you to be eligible to gain this certificate by day 4 of this bootcamp, which is going to be tomorrow, you are going to be given a task, and that task will last from Thursday, and submission will be on Saturday. So the task will involve what we have done starting from day 1 down to day 5, right? So please, I will repeat this, reiterate on it. Do well to perform this task and submission. The link for the classroom, that's where the task will be uploaded by tomorrow. The link for the classroom will be in the comment section. So do well to do your tax and submit so that you will be issued your certificate of participation from Logtech. Okay, welcome again. And today we are going to look at more beautiful things that we can perform on our AWS cloud service and our AWS cloud platform. So today we are going to be looking at a load balancer. We're going to be looking at a load balancer. Two, we are going to be hosting a website like we did yesterday, but today we're going to be hosting 3, not 1. And we're going to see the reason why. Actually, 2. One, we act as a load balancer. Now, what is a load balancer, right? A load balancer is, let's put it as, is an intermediary guy that distributes network evenly. So let's quickly move over to our screens so we can see some illustrations of how a load balancer is, and then we are going to build our load balancer from scratch, right? All right. Right here on my screen, I have my, we did this, we treated this yesterday. So it's something that is familiar to us by now. Right here, I have my AWS management console at this point. I have my AWS management console at this point. Now, what do I want to do? I want to create 3 instances. I'll explain why. And today also, we are going to be attaching a domain name to our instance. Why are we going to do this? Because, as you know, when you try to access any website on the internet, you don't put in the server name, right? What you put is a custom domain name. So today we're going to see how to get domain names and how to attach domain names to our servers so that we can easily share these domain names that are easily relatable to us. Let's quickly get right down to it. So I have logged in into my account and I have my EC2 service here, or I can simply search. I'll search for EC2 and I have it here. So my EC2 server is going to come up. All right. So I'm going to launch an instance. Let me note this. You can create multiple instances at a go. So right here, I have number of instances. I will choose 3 because I want to quickly create 3. So I'll call this web server. I'll give us the reason why we are creating 3. I'll call this web server. Again, I'm going to choose Ubuntu. Ubuntu. And I'm going to, if you remember, if you recall, yesterday we created a key pair called Bootcamp key. So I'll simply go to my key pair. That key should be here. I'll use that key pair, or you can simply create another. I will ensure that my HTTPS and HTTP are allowed. Then I'll launch my instance. Please note this, number of instances should be 3. I'll launch my instance. So right here, my instances have been created. So we head over back to instances. I have 3 instances here. Now I want to name them. I want to give them a name that I can easily use to identify them. So right here, I have 3 of them. I'm going to rename this. I'll call this web server 1. I'll rename this. I'll call this web server 2. So I'm going to have 2 servers acting as a web server, and I'll have this server act as a load balancer. So let's get to it. I'm going to connect to web server 1 first. I'll connect to it. Now, what are we trying to achieve here? Let me quickly draw this. Let me give us what we are trying to achieve here. What's a load balancer? I mentioned that a load balancer acts as an intermediary between 2 servers to distribute traffic on network. Now, I want to give an illustration. This is a user, right? This user, I have 2 users. At the moment, I have just 2 users, and they are using, or they are making requests to web server 1. Now, web server 1 at this moment can easily handle the request being sent by these 2 users easily, with no issues, no hassle. They can easily handle the request by these servers. Now, what if these particular users, they now become numerous, they now become a lot, and they are continually sending requests to this server at almost the same time, right? So they are continually sending requests to this server at almost the same time. Now it gets to a point where this server becomes loaded. It can no longer handle the traffic easily because the traffic are much. It now begins to lag. So this is where load balancer comes into play. Now what we can do is we can simply, to handle this multiple requests, we can spin off a second server, right? We can spin off a second server. I'll call this web server 2. Now we have these 2 servers, and these 2 servers can handle this request. But there still come a time where these servers 2 will become loaded with requests. The solution to this will be what we call a load balancer. So the load balancer acts as a proxy server to distribute network. So instead of the users making requests directly to the web server 1, they simply make the request to the load balancer, and the load balancer will then distribute that network to the web servers. I hope that makes sense. So right here, we are going to do this. So when user 1 makes a request to load balancer, the load balancer checks among these 2 servers, which is free. Then it gives that server the request. It will also check, let me say user 1 makes a request and the load balancer distributes that network to web server 1, right? User 2 comes along and makes a request to the load balancer, right? Comes along and makes a request to the load balancer. The load balancer checks, okay, web server 1 is still handling a request. What it will do is it will distribute the request to web server 2 because it is free. Say a third user comes around and also sends a request. Now, before this third user comes, the web server 1 has already handled the request of user 1. So what the load balancer will check is, okay, web server 2 is still busy. It will then redirect user 3 request to server 1 for it to handle, right? So this is what we want to, this is the architecture that we want to create right now. And that's the reason why I have 3 servers, 2 acting as web server, while 1 acting as a load balancer. So I'll get into my web server 1. Let me start from there. And we connect, and I'm going to connect. Now we'll go over those commands that we used yesterday to spin off our server. And please, the I'd like to know the city that you're watching from, the country. I would like to know that. Please do well to drop that in the comment section. I would like us to rep our city, rep our country, wherever we are watching from, right? Okay. So do well to drop your city, your location, wherever you're streaming from, wherever you're watching from. I'd like to, I'd like for us to do that in the comments. All right. Let's dive right into it. I have my instance here. My instance is here. So what I'll do now is remember the command sudo apt update to sudo apt update used to install all pre-installed packages. After sudo apt update, I'm going to perform the next command, which is to install our Apache server. Sudo apt install Apache 2. Sudo apt install Apache 2. That's the command I'm going to use to install the Apache. The next command will be sudo apt start Apache 2. That's to start the server. Sudo, apologies, that's wrong. Sudo system ctl install Apache 2. Not install, start. Okay, I'll take this again. Sudo system ctl start Apache 2. I have that. The next command will be sudo system ctl enable Apache 2. I need to confirm the status of my Apache server if it is running. Sudo system ctl status Apache 2. My Apache 2 server is active and running. I'll simply copy the public IP address and I'll paste it here. Let's see default Apache's web page. Now, if you have this, don't fret. What you can do is you can simply come here, double click on the URL, remove the S, or you can add the S and add port 80 here. Okay, port 80 didn't go through. So just remove the S and enter. And we're going to have this. Now, at the moment, our site is not secured, but we're going to have this. Recall this page. You can always locate the location of this file in this part. I'll quickly head over to my server and I'll locate that part. CD HTML. In this file, in this folder, in this directory, I want to locate the index.html. I'll simply just delete that file, and arrow M used to delete index.html. I'll remove that file, and now I need to elevate my privileges. I need to elevate my privileges to that of the admin, and I'll do that with the command sudo remove index.html, and the file will be removed. I now need to create a new file, sudo nano, and I will head over to my AI assistant tool, and I will tell my AI assistant tool to create a web page for me. Okay, so I'm going to create a web page, and I'm going to create a web page, and I'll call this create a visual. Okay, so this is a website I want to create, a website for, say, a beauty business. Okay, and note, create this website in one file, both the HTML and CSS. All right, so I'll do this, and my site is getting created. So that's quite okay. I'll copy this sudo nano index.html. I'm going to paste what I have copied. I'll paste that. At the moment, I have my web site code, my web page code. I want to save. How do I save with Nano? I'll save by Control O or Control X. So I'll do Control O, enter, then Control S, right? I want to read my file. Cat nano cat index.html. So with this, I'm able to read the content of my file. If I move over to our IP address on the other tab and refresh, I'm going to have this. So this is a website that was created for us. Quite simple, quite bland. It's not the best. I think on the next one I'll give a better prompt. Really not really looking okay, but we'll manage that for the moment. Now I'm done with web server 1. I want to move over to web server 2. I'm done with web server 1. So right here, I have web server 2. I have web server 2. This is web server 2. I'll select it, and I will click on the instance ID, or I can select it and click on connect right here. With connect, we connect to the instance. I want to do the same thing on web server 2. Same thing I did on web server 1, where I installed Apache on it and I used it to host my website. So I'm going to do the same for web 2. Still the same process, sudo apt update. sudo apt update, that's running some processes. Next command will be sudo apt install Apache 2. I made a typo. I made a typo. Install Apache 2. That particular process, same thing we did for the last one. We're going to carry the same process out here. And the next command now will be to start our Apache, enable it, and check the status. Sudo apt sudo systemctl start Apache 2. Sudo systemctl enable Apache 2. That's for the second command. The next command will be sudo systemctl status Apache 2. Okay, I have my server running. Likewise, I'll copy the IP address and I'll paste it. I'll have the same. So this is at the moment it is secured. So I need to click on this and remove the S from the HTTP, and that will give me my default Apache page. Now I need to create a website. So I'm going to do better than I did the last time. Create a visually appealing website for a company that sells food. This all right, so I'm trying to give it a detailed description of how I want the site to look like. Okay. Made some typos along the way. Quickly just appetizing. Okay, I'll send this way, and my website is going to take a while for it to be generated. Once it's done generating, I'm going to navigate to the path cd var www.html. Okay, in this part, I'm looking for a file named index.html. I'm looking for a file named index.html. I have that file here. what I'm going to do next is I'm going to remove that file. By now, should be done generating, I presume. All right, done. I'll simply copy the code. And remember, this is the reason why I named it by web server 2, so I can easily identify it. Okay, I can't delete this file without the without my privileges being elevated. Sudo rm to elevate my privilege, index.html, and the file will be deleted. I want to create a new file. Sudo nano still index.html. I'll quickly paste what I have copied from my AI assistant tool. How do I save? Control O, Control O, enter, Control X, or Control X, enter, then Y. Okay. I will refresh my Apache, my web. Okay, this is a site and some image are breaking. Okay, still makes sense. At least this is better than the previous one. Some images were breaking, but I'll take that. Finally, I want to work on our load balancer. Remember our diagram we illustrated here? At the moment, we have our two web servers ready. At the moment, they can still be overloaded with requests. What I want to do now is I want to add a load balancer to stand in between them to distribute traffic or share traffic amongst them. Might be equally or might be the server with the higher property, higher specification should handle more requests, while the server with the lower spec should handle lesser requests. I'll quickly do this now. This is my load balancer. Check the load balancer and I'll select it and I'll connect to my load balancer. Now we are going to need a different package for us to create our load balancer. We are not going to use Apache. We're going to use a package called nginx. That is the package we are going to use to create our load balancer. Let's get on with that. Still the same concept, sudo apt update all previous or pre-installed packages, sudo apt update. Then the next command is going to be sudo apt install, this time around, nginx. Sudo apt install nginx. Okay, still the same concept. I need to start this nginx. I need to start the nginx. Sudo systemctl start nginx. Sudo systemctl enable nginx. I need to check the status of the nginx server. I made a typo. System. Okay, that has been enabled. Remember, enable is used to enable the server on boot time of my EC2 instance. The next one will be to check the status nginx. All right, sudo systemctl status nginx. My nginx server is running. Now we're going to take a quick one, and when we come back, we are going to connect our load balancer with our web servers. At the moment, I have 3 of them created, but there is no communication between them. So when we get back, we are going to insert the communication between the load balancer and the web servers. When we come back, we are going to initiate the communication between our load balancer and the web servers. All right, we're back. And let's quickly initiate the communication between our web servers and our load balancer. Getting right down to it, my screen will come up in a while and is up. We have created just a recap. We've created our web servers and our load balancer is active. By the moment, our load balancer can't tell or doesn't know that our web server exists. We need to initiate that communication. We need to initiate that relationship between them. Now, this is web server 2. That's why it's important to name them. Now, this is load balancers. Load balancer. I'll take the IP address of my load balancer and I will okay, as you can see, I have welcome to Engine INX. What I want to achieve now is whenever the user comes to this particular load balancer, it will show him either the web server 1 website or the web server 2's website. Let's quickly initiate that. I need to locate a path, and the path I need to locate is this path. Okay, my I need to refresh. I need to initiate the connection, right? And I'm on that. I need to initiate the connection. I need to initiate the connection. Okay, that's running behind the scene. That's running, is running up. Okay, all right. My screen is up. and the process. All right, so I'll quickly run us through it. I need to locate a path, and that path is this path. I copied it here so I can easily paste it. For some reason, sudo we have to go into this path. Engine inx sudo nano engine inx sudo nano. This is the part that we need to move into. We want to simply write to a file. Now I want to write this file sudo nano etc nginx site available. This is the part that we need to make our configurations, and I will move into that. Right here, I have this file. We can simply delete this file so that I can explain what is happening here. Let me delete this file and I will create another one so that it will not be clustered. So sudo, not really sudo. I want to change directory cd etc slash engine inx slash sites available. Sites available. Now I'm in this part, etc nginx sites available. I want to see the content of this part. I have the file here called default. I'll simply remove default. I'll remove the default file. Sudo rm sudo rm default, right? I'll remove that and I'm going to create a new one. Sudo nano default. I'm going to create that. Now, in the classroom group, classroom link that will be sent to you, all of these commands that I am using, I'm going to create a note and send them there. So by tomorrow, you'll get all the notes that you need to actually carry on with the project that you'll be given, the tasks you'll be given. Remember, this task is important because you need to submit a task for you to be issued your certificate, right? Okay. And from what I'm seeing here, the content of the file came back. Okay, I'll just manually delete everything then. I'm clearing everything here, so I'll manually delete it. I think I'll just stay from here and delete every single thing. Okay, so again, I would like to know your state of the state you're watching from, the country, and I'd like to see your reactions. Hope you're following. Hope it's making sense, and I hope that you've gained clarity in these few days that we spent treating cloud computing. I hope you've now gained to some extent what cloud computing is and how you can integrate cloud computing in your business, be it that you're a developer or say you're new to this. Hope you now see cloud computing as a career path. Now, that's the idea of this bootcamp, to introduce you to this concept, to introduce you to cloud computing, so that you will see and you will also be able to testify that truly is not as big or as difficult people tend to make it to be, right? So I hope we are following. I hope we've learned a lot in this 3 days that we've encountered each other, and we'll get right back to it, to hosting load balancer. We'll get right back to it, to hosting a load balancer. All right, I have cleared all the default files I had there. I want to paste this. I'm going to paste the configuration. Now this is the configuration I need. I'm going to explain everything here, and I kept some comments. Upstream web servers. These are my web servers. how will the load balancer know my web server with this configuration, right? Right here, I'm going to upstream web servers. I'm going to copy the IP address of my web server one. So this is for web server one. I'm going to copy the IP address. I'll simply head over here. This is web server one, as you can see. Copy the public IP address, head back to my load balancer. I'll paste this. Also, for web server 2, I'll do the same. Okay, please leave the server and I'll copy for web server 2 the public IP. I'll copy the public IP, head over to my load balancer and I'll paste it there. Right, I have my servers, I have my web server 1, web server 2. Now this is the server, this is the load balancer server. I need to put my load balancer's name. As you can see here, I dropped a note, replace with your domain or public IP address of load balancer. I'll copy this. That is the IP address of the load balancer, and I will paste. Okay, I'm good. So I need to add the IP address of server 1, server 2, and the IP address of the load balancer. I need to save my file, Control O, Enter, Control X, and that has been saved. Now I need to test if my configuration is successful. How do I test? Engine INX -T. Oh, it failed. As you can see here, test failed. I need to check what the issue might be. Did I miss? Nope. Didn't miss anything in particular. Okay. I'll quickly just look at this again. So I'll know I'll trace the issue. Server name. Okay, that looks correct to me. Upstream web servers, yes. I will save this again. Control O, Y, enter. Nope. Okay, sudo, I will test this file again. Sudo test, sudo engine INX. Sudo engine INX test. Oh, this was what I didn't do before. I didn't use sudo. Now, as you can see, my configuration file is what's successful. Let's quickly go back to load balancer. Now, if I refresh this page, what do I see? It's coming. Okay, now nothing happens because I have made a configuration change. You know, when there's a kind of changes you make in your system, you need to restart that system. For example, say you change your desktop profile, you have to restart for it to take effect. So right now, I need to restart my Nginx server, sudo sudo systemctl restart engine INX. Okay, so with this command not found, sudo systemctl restarts engine INX. I made a typo. Just paste this. All right, my server has restarted. Sudo systemctl restarts engine INX. And I'll head over to my load balancer's IP address. I'll refresh. Now, when I refresh, as you can see, I'm getting the what is it called? This is the output of web server 1. If I refresh again, I'm getting the output of web server 2. As you can see, it is distributing the traffic equally between web server 1 and web server 2. This is a load balancer. Now, let me note this, or let me say this. AWS have a service called um, the AWS load balancer. But the reason why we went with this route is so that we will understand the behind the scene, the under the hood workings of how a load balancer works. Let's quickly attach a domain name to our IP address. Instead of me pasting 10.28.128.48 on a web browser, I want to use a domain name. Now, the service in charge of domain name or responsible for domain names on AWS is a service called Route 53, right? So you might want to buy a domain. You can simply get a domain with AWS by using the Route 53 service. As you can see, scalable DNS and domain name registration. What does DNS mean? DNS means domain name system. What that means is, um, let's say, combining IP addresses to human readable names. Let me give an instance. Say I have a business and I sell phones and I have a website. I tell you, okay, go to my website. The server name is 10.8.124.78. That's within 2 seconds, you might forget that. But if I tell you, okay, go to my website, www.elitephones.com, that relates, right? So DNS translates an IP address, a server's IP address, to a human readable name. That's what a DNS does. So right here, you can see this. This is the Route 53, and this is domain. I can go over to register domains, and I have some domains here already, one or two. You can go to register domains and buy a domain with AWS. A domain costs about $10 to $15. That's the pricing for a domain. And note, the domain extensions determines the price of a domain. What I mean by extensions here includes .com, .net, .org, .edu, and all of that. All of these, all of these, all of these join together, or these are the factors that influences the pricing of a domain. Okay, so right here you have register a domain. You have register a domain, and I can click here to register a domain. You can put a domain name. I'll say Logtech Bootcamp, and I need to choose the extension I want. Do I want a .com? Do I want .academy? Whatever extension I want, I'll put it here and I'll search. Now note, you have to make sure that the domain name you are using is not, nobody else has used that domain name. A domain name needs to be unique. As you can see here, this domain names available for me to purchase, and it costs, the price in here is what, $15. If I wish to continue, I will select and then proceed to checkout. But I have a domain already, and I'll use the domain I have to perform this. Now I need to link my load balancer's IP address to my domain name. Let's quickly do that. We really don't have much time. So I will quickly come here, go to hosted zones. I'll go to hosted zones. Hosted zones. Okay. We are really not going to be able to complete this, but we'll look at this tomorrow. We'll look at how to attach a domain name to web server that we have, right? But I hope you grasp the concept of load balancers. So just to take you on that again, our load balancer, if I refresh this, it will show me the server 1. If I refresh again, it will populate the server 2 for me. At the moment, it is distributing the traffic among them equally, 50-50. And this is how big companies like Netflix, Snapchat, and Google also, this is how they design their system, because they have multiple users on that system and they have a load balancer distributing traffic among the servers hosting their application for them. And that is it for this day 3. And I hope you gained a lot. And remember, your task will be given to you tomorrow. You will see the link in the comment section, the classroom link. It will be in the comment section. By tomorrow, you are going to have, by tomorrow, you're going to receive the tasks for you to perform, right? And please, again, I will implore you to please do well to perform those tasks. Submission is by Saturday for you to be able, for you to be eligible, or for you to be issued your certificate. Very important. You need to be issued your certificate of participation for this particular bootcamp. Yeah, that wraps it up for today. I'll see us tomorrow, where we're going to look at more interesting concepts of cloud computing, and we're going to see more beautiful solutions we can perform using our AWS cloud service. I can't wait to see you tomorrow.